Hello and welcome to using basic formulas and functions in Microsoft Excel. My name is Saad Khan, and in this video we'll learn how to use and write basic formulas and functions in Excel, and also learn about the use of formulas that allow us to perform calculations for addition, multiplication, percentages, and we'll understand what the general format is for writing functions in Microsoft Excel. Let's begin. For this project, we will be using the free online version of Excel from Microsoft Office 365. You will notice that your browser opened to the free Microsoft Office online page. If you already have an account, you can use your account to log in. If you don't have an account, simply click on sign up for free. It will first ask you to write your email address, and this can be a regular email. It doesn't have to be a Microsoft associated email. After signing in, you should be automatically directed to your home page. Now that you have arrived to the Office home page, you will notice on the left-hand side of the screen the icons to the Microsoft Office programs like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And in this case, we are going to working with Excel. Since we are going to be using a prepared spreadsheet with the sample data, we will first have to upload the file to our cloud. To do so, as you can see, we have already a sample data which I uploaded yesterday. Now to open the file, you will just double click on it and it should automatically take us on the spreadsheet, as you can see. So to get acquainted with the spreadsheet, where you have the basic calculation tab, which is the first one we are going to work on, and then the sales data tab. Let's make sure that we were at the basic calculation tab, since we will start working with this one on our next task. Let's see what we have here in this first example for the addition. In this first example, we are keeping a record of the expenses that we have had throughout the day, where we spent $2.50 on coffee, $32.75 on supermarket, $28.50 on gas. And now we want to write a formula to calculate the total of what we spent throughout the day, and we are going to calculate this total in cell B7. So we'll click on cell B7. In this case, we want to add the values of the cells B4, B5, and B6. We have calculated that we spent a total of $63.75 on that day. Let's move on to the next calculation, which is subtraction. In this case, we have a data of the unit bought and sold of an item in our inventory, and we want to write a formula to calculate how many units are left in stock. To do this, we are going to calculate the difference between the unit bought and sold. As you can imagine, it will be similar to how we would calculate it in the calculation. And now we want to do the units bought, which is located in cell E4. And you will see it highlighted, minus the units sold, which is located in cell E5, and we will click enter. And now we have calculated the units that we have in stock are 746. Now let's turn to the third example, which is multiplication. In this case, we have a series of items that have been sold, and we have a record of how many units of each item have been sold and what the unit price of each item is. For each item, we want to calculate the total revenue from the sale of that item. To calculate this, we will have to multiply the units that are sold by the price per unit for that item. So let's start with the first one on cell I4, sorry. So we'll click on that cell and we will start our formula with the equal sign. And we are going to want to multiply G4. So let's click on that cell. And now to multiply on the spreadsheet, the symbol that we are going to use is asterisks. So we'll have G4 asterisk, click on H4, and then we can click enter. Take a moment to practice the multiplication with other two items. The result of these two calculations should be $87 and $21. Moving on to the last example, which is the division. So for example, we have annual salary of $52,000. So to calculate the monthly salary of a person, we would divide the annual salary by 12 months of the year to get the monthly salary. So click on L4, start with equal sign. So equal sign, L3, backslash 12, and now click enter. So we have a result of $4,333.33. Well, we have learned about the general format for using formulas in Excel and how to write simple formulas to perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now we are going to perform an analysis on the sales data of a small business, putting into practice some of the formulas that we learned in the previous work and also learning some new formulas in the second tab of our document. So let's get started. You will see that the last column of the table with the heading total is empty, and we will begin this task by calculating the total revenue for each order. To calculate the total revenue, we will have to multiply the number of units sold by the price per unit. So let's practice this for this first order. And so G2, go to G2. We are going to write our formula. So we'll start with the equal sign. And then we are going to have the number of units, which is in cell E2. Remember that the times was the asterisk, and then the price per unit, which is in cell F2, and then click enter. You will see the $85. Now we could repeat the same calculation for all other orders, but in this case it would take a really long time since we have, I believe, 50 orders. I think 51 orders. So the good thing is that we have a little shortcut in Excel. We have the possibility to apply the same formula to several cells simply by dragging the formula to the remaining cells of the column. As you can see, Excel has automatically applied that formula to the remaining cells in that column. Now going back to our sum function. With the sum function, we can add the value of several cells that are part of either the same column or row. In this case, we want to add the value of cell G2 to G51. To do this, we are going to select cell G52, and here we are going to write equal to start our formula. But in this case, we are going to use a function, and that function is sum. Simply click on that. And now we could see that the total revenue for the first month was $13,575. Now let's practice the sum function to calculate how many chairs we have sold during the first 4 months of the year. And to do this, we are going to work with the number of units column. So let's get started. There were a total of 141 chairs sold between January and April. As you can see, now we are going to continue working with our sample data using formulas and functions to analyze the popularity of chair models and colors sold. Let's say, for example, that you want to analyze your sales data to calculate how many units of each chair model were sold. This calculation can be useful to keep track of the popularity of each model throughout these 4 months. To perform this calculation, we are first going to write the name of the 5 models of chairs that were sold, and we are going to do this to the right hand side of our table. We could do that. For example, in column I, enter I4. Let's just write model. We have just write model to show that we are going to list the models of chairs sold, and then we have air, urban, cloud, Aspen, and then energy. Now that we have the names of the 5 models, we are going to use a function called SUMIF to calculate the total number of units that were sold for each model. So for the first model, which is air, we are going to select cell J5, and in that cell we are going to write the following function. So we have equal sign and then SUMIF. We are using this formula. we sold 26 units for the A model, and you may be wondering why we have the dollar symbol next to the cells for row A and row E. Well, the dollar symbol is used in formulas and functions when we want to fix or anchor the cell reference when we apply the formula to the other cells. This function is a bit more advanced than what we have learned in the previous test, so let's practice it again with another example. This will help us identify patterns of how we would use this same function to perform other similar analysis. Let's say we want to analyze which chair color is most popular. Well, this information can be useful when designing marketing for the chairs, or maybe estimating how much production material you will need in the future for different chair colors. Let's say that in I11, I'm just going to list the title color. Then we will state different colors that we have. So we have black, we have green, blue, red, and white. Now that we have the list of colors, we are going to use the SUMIF function to calculate how many black chairs were sold, how many gray chairs were sold, how many blue, red, and white chairs were sold. So let's get started. In cell J12, we are going to start writing our function, which is SUMIF. We're going to start with equal sign. So the range column is going to be the color column. So we will be highlighting from D2 to cell D51. Now we are going to have comma, then our criteria, which is black, and then we will have the sum range, which is going to be the number of units column. Drag it completely over the last column. We will close the parentheses. Now before pressing enter, we want to remember to add the dollar sign. So we'll add dollar. Now press enter. As you can see, we have calculated that we have sold 36 units of black chairs. So now let's drag our formula to the remaining colors. We have learned about the sum functions to perform an analysis on the popularity of different chair models and colors. Now we are going to apply the formulas and functions we have learned in this video to calculate the total income for each month. And you will also learn how to calculate averages and percentages. Let's say you want to keep a record of what the total income was from selling the office chairs for each month. With what we have learned in this video so far, what formula function would you use to calculate this? I'm sure you're thinking about the sum function, right? And that's correct. We can definitely use the sum function to add the profits we had from all orders within a given month. Well, let's prepare our table to record this information. So in cell I18, I'm just going to call this section month, and then we are going to write the month. So we have January, February, March, April. Now we are going to be using the sum function to calculate the total profits for each month. So let's get started. So for January, the formula function would be equal sum and then the range G2 to G13. Repeat this process with February, March, and April. Then for February, the range is from G14 to G24. Then March, the range is from G25 to G38. And then April, if we are working with data from the entire year, it will certainly take longer. In this case, the SUMIF function would come in hand, and we can practice using the SUMIF function to perform the same calculation in column K. So let's get started. Click enter. Click enter and repeat this process with February, March, and April. As you can see, we have just done here the SUMIF formula for February, March, and April. Let's calculate the total profits that we got from these 4 months. To calculate this total, click enter. Now we are going to use sum function to calculate this total. starts with equal sign, J19 to J22. As you can see, the total amount is $13,575. Now in cell J24, we are going to calculate the average monthly income or average monthly profits. Click enter. Starts with equal sign, average formula. Now we have calculated the average monthly profit is $3,394. Now the last formula we are going to learn about is how to calculate the percentages of the total profits from the first quarter of the year that we have received for each month. So let's get started. J19 backslash divided by the total asterisks 100. Click enter. Repeat this process with February, March and April. Now you have learned about using formulas and functions in Excel to perform calculations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, and also how to calculate averages and percentages. If you need additional time, stop the video and resume when you're ready.